Hello, Pauper fans. Welcome back for match 3. I'm Mathonical, and let's jump into the game. Our opening hand is great. We have 4 mana sources. We have Thraven Inspector, Core Skyfisher to go with that to draw extra cards, and a couple removal spells. Absolutely snapkeep this one. We don't know what we're up against initially. They play an island, so we don't know if this is going to be some kind of Delver or some kind of control deck. So we just go with our combo of playing our Thraven Inspector. As soon as we see the blue-black, that's going to narrow it down to either some kind of blue-black Flicker or Angler Delver. So, not much we can do just yet, except continue to play our cards. Palace Sentinels is a great draw here because since they have no creatures on the board, if they don't play any creatures, we can slam that and feel great about it. Seagate Oracle basically means with 2 of our blockers, we should be able to reasonably block it no matter what they do. They'd have to be able to kill both our guys to be able to get in, and that's really unlikely. And now that we have the Monarch, we just want to kill all of their creatures as much as possible and just start getting in for damage whenever we can. They do end up killing a bunch of our guys, but we're not concerned. Drawing 2 cards a turn is fantastic. All these removal spells is great. We don't even care if they're playing Mull Drifters and getting multiple cards. It doesn't really matter. As long as they don't have creatures on the board, they have no way of taking back the Monarchy. So we just continue to play our creatures, get value out of them. We don't even have an artifact with which to combo with the Core Skyfisher or Glinthawk, but we're just going to play them out there anyway because we want to play our cards. We're drawing as many cards as we could possibly want, and we have max hand size, so we just want to get the creatures out, start attacking, and try and win as quick as possible. We might as well just start playing our rally as well, because we would have had to discard to hand size. Turns out they were scared enough of it to counter it, and they do have the Bajugu Bogs to follow it up to remove it from our graveyard, and that's fine. We'll just continue to chip away. We are starting to get a little land flooded, but we're still not concerned since they don't have much in the way of creatures. When they go to try and cast Reaping the Graves to get back some creatures, we go ahead and bolt because they had their shields down. And now we're just looking for some way to get the last 4 damage in. Here we're just going to draw a card. We're going to go for the Journey on the Mull Drifter because we don't want these to trade. Since they're at 4 life, we want to just get the last bit of damage in. We have a Galvanic Blast to win, and it turns out they want to protect their Mull Drifter, so when they go to Ghostly Flicker, we just simply end the game. Very quick, and by quick, I mean like a 10-minute game for the first one. Quick by blue-black standards. So, we will jump into game 2. Sideboarding is fairly standard for this kind of matchup. We want the Pyroblasts and the Relic. So we're going to take out the Battle Screeches, since they're very likely to bring in some sort of -1/-1 effect. There's plenty of those, and we did see the Evokar's Justice, so token generation isn't the best plan there. And then we also take out a Prophetic Prism and a Radiant Fountain. Since we're going to be on the draw, we don't need all 22 lands. And the games go a little bit longer, so we have a lot more time to draw a Prophetic Prism. And with that sideboarding done, we will jump into it. Our initial hand is a little sketchy. Even though we do have like 2 lands, it's both the same color, nothing to combo with a Skyfisher. We do have some removal and a Pyroblast and a Palace Sentinel. Palace Sentinel is a big draw to this hand, just because that gives us the ability to start drawing multiple cards a turn, and we do have some removal to keep them off of creatures later on. So we're going to run with this and just hope we draw some lands at some point. Getting the Relic in the first turn is a great first turn play. We want to get that on the field before they can counter it, and it will just get us just incremental value over the course of the game, being able to get rid of any of their graveyard shenanigans. The Chittering Rats is a little unfortunate there. Thankfully, we had already drawn our 3rd land, but this one really hurts, since now we're not going to be able to get our 4th land on time to play our Palace Sentinels into an empty board. So, yeah, it's a bit unfortunate, but that's alright. We're just going to run out a Core Skyfisher just to keep the Chittering Rat from attacking, and thankfully we had the Pyroblast to deal with his Thornbound Geist there. Been a bit tricky to deal with since we'd already used our Journey to Nowhere. We are glad to get our 4th land, because now we can get the Palace Sentinels online at some point, although now that they have multiple creatures, it's not a good plan to just run it out there. So now we're glad to draw the Thraben Inspector to continue to redraw. Removal spell is great to get rid of the Mulldrifter, and we're just going to get it for some damage. If they attack here, it's fine. We'll trade 2 damage, and then we're looking to drop our Palace Sentinels. We are concerned about a counter spell of some sort, and because of that, we decide to continue to just draw cards. A Journey will protect us when we go and do try and become the Monarch at some point in the future. And it turns out they just had a Ghostly Flicker, so it's not the worst, since now our Journey doesn't have anything underneath it. When we get another core Skyfisher in the future, we'd be able to bounce it and reuse it. And at this point, we're just kind of waiting for some way of resolving the Palace Sentinel, because we know they have 5 cards in hand. It's something in there has to be a counterspell. They're letting us play the cards that they're not too worried about, which is fine for us. We do hesitate in attacking with the Thraben Inspector because we are concerned about a Ghostly Flicker, but they should only have like 1, maybe 2 left in the deck since we've already exiled 1. And it's a good number to keep track of. Our main goal of the Relic is to get rid of their Ghostly Flicker combo, so they can't lock us out of the game. But we continue to just cycle through our deck. We're getting lots of Thraben Inspectors, lots of artifacts to continue to draw cards. So we continue to do this. We did have the option to Firebolt the Chittering Rat, and this time we will try to. Turns out they would like to try and protect it, so they do counter spell or use Hydroblast on it. It means that they are trying to chip us out of this game 2 damage at a time. And things are starting to get a little bit more worrisome since they still have a lot of cards in hand. So they're able to counter spell our creature, and then we try and get rid of their rats again, but they have a dispel. Things are not looking too good since they're able to control us, and we still have not been able to resolve our Palace Sentinels. They continue to have counter spells, which is very unfortunate for us. And at this point, I realize it's probably the best plan to try and trade with Chittering Rats. They've been trying to protect as much as possible, and I'm trying to give them the opportunity to 2 for 1, just because we want to absolutely resolve the Palace Sentinels, but they let it go this time. They have a Mulldrifter to follow it up. When we go for the Palace Sentinels, they do have the counter spell to stop that, but we didn't really have any choice to go for it since we have a second one in hand. Our main plan is to try and resolve one of them, and then use an Alchemist File on the Mulldrifter to prevent them from stealing it the next turn, and then hopefully draw something relevant off the extra cards we're going to draw. Our opponent is starting to get a lot of extra card draw because they had a Mulldrifter into double Seagate Oracle, so things are not looking too good here. And we really do not want to just run out the Palace Sentinels just to let them draw additional cards and to continue to control us out of the game. So we draw extra cards because we are drawing a lot of our artifacts. This is why in longer games I do like to try and pull one of them out, because if you're doing nothing but spinning your wheels the entire game, you can get into situations like this. And things continue to look more and more grim since we're nearly dead on board. And that basically means we gotta run out. We're basically digging here for some way of killing like a Mulldrifter, because we know if we play the Palace Sentinels, they're just going to let it resolve and they're going to attack with everything. We're just trying to find something that will dig us out of this, but knowing our deck, there isn't. So we draw as many cards as we can, don't find anything, and we will concede that one after we play the Palace Sentinels. They'll be very happy to draw an additional card, of course. Because the main reason why we hadn't conceded just yet is there is a chance that when we play the Palace Sentinels that we do draw a burn spell, and then we can cast it onto their Mulldrifter, and then block one of the dudes. So we can also the Alchemist Vial to stop the Mole Drifter, so we weren't absolutely dead on board until it was removed. Yeah. So, we will jump into game 3. Comes down to this, we're already down one match. And going down another match in a 6-round tournament like this basically puts you out of top 8 contention, so we really want to win this one. And we basically want to win every game going forward. Our initial hand does not look good. Unfortunately, just a Boros Garrison. This is unkeepable. This one is much better. We do have all of our colors thanks to the Prophetic Prism, some removal, and a Pal Sentinels. So this is about as good as we can ask for against a blue-black Flicker deck for a 6-card hand. Core Skyfisher on top is pretty good. It does combo with our Prophetic Prism. And we don't have a lot of action going on early, but our main plan is to just get the Palace Sentinels online. We want to draw our extra cards. So playing the Prophetic Prism there instead of the Relic because we just want to try and dig down to our land drops. Thankfully we did find our 3rd land, and now we're hoping that since they didn't play a creature that we draw our 4th land, but we didn't. So we continue to dig for it. We still haven't found it, but we're still able to play our Prophetic Prism and our Thraben Inspector to get our card draw online. We have a lot of removal spells. We even have a Journey to Nowhere for their Stormbound Geist, which is great for us. But we draw the 4th land. We have a decision there between the Palace Sentinels and the Journey, and since we don't want to just give them the ability to draw an extra card and to try and protect it, we absolutely just remove their creatures first and are able to hold up the Pyroblast for the Mole Drifter. It's usually a good idea in this matchup to keep track of when they're about to hit their 5th land drop and to try and hold up the Pyroblast to stop their first Mole Drifter. A lot of their deck hinges on getting that card flow going, a lot like ours. Ours just gets online a bit earlier. So now that we have the Monarch, we are just trying to protect our monarchy as much as possible, which means removing every creature. And we do continue to do that. Anytime they play a creature, we remove it. We continue to draw cards, and we continue to chip in damage whenever we can. This is our version of controlling them. Shearing Rats, it's a bit annoying, but it's no big deal since we have an Alchemist Vial to dig into our next card and a clue on board. We're kind of hoping for another removal spell, just so we can keep the board completely clear. We also have to be careful that they do have 3 mana available for a Flicker. They do have it, which is fine. This means it's in the graveyard, and they're going to have to start deciding between like their Chainer's Edict and their Ghostly Flicker when we continue to activate our Relic in the future. So we just continue to bounce our stuff. We draw extra cards. The pretty standard Boros Monarch plan. Here we pop the Vial on the rats just in case they have an instant speed removal spell to activate or to use after they're in combat already, before blockers. Other than that, we're just going to continue to go with our main game plan. We do have the option of popping the Relic at any time, but since we have the Rally in our graveyard, we would like to get a little extra value out of that. And while they could get value out of their Chainer's Edict, I'm not too worried about sacrificing 1 Thraben Inspector if they use nearly their entire turn to cast it. And we always want to try and hold up 1 mana whenever possible, just in case they play the Archaeomancer to get back the Ghostly Flicker. They attack, and we're going to happily trade and block. We want to keep the Monarchy. And things are looking pretty light in our hand, very land heavy. So drawing just things to draw additional cards is what we want to do. Thankfully, we're able to continue to draw through our deck, and when we try and remove their creature, they end up having another Hydroblast because they know they want to have creatures on board to have a chance of getting the Monarchy back. Now that we're drawing multiple Palace Sentinels, it basically means we can drop as many creatures as we want and just start applying a lot more pressure. They counter it knowing that we're trying to apply pressure, and we're able to resolve the second without any problems. So now it's just a simple matter of waiting for the 2 cards a turn to bury our opponent underneath all of our card advantage. Yeah, continue to enjoy as we play lots of artifacts, draw lots of cards, get many attacks in. Having a Pyroblast in hand is great since it means we can stop any counterspell going forward or a Muldrifter if they try and resolve that. We did cash in the rally there, you probably noticed, because they didn't block. We wanted to get in for a lot of extra damage. Here, they go for the Echoing Decay on our creature because they're trying to get in and steal the Monarchy. So we just go ahead and Pyroblast it. Since we know we have the win on the way back, we don't want to give them any extra draws to try and find a way out of this. All in all, it was a pretty solid game 3, and we win the 3rd round. So I'll see you back in round 4.